Hello, my name is James Trost, and this is A2 Insight. Today's guest is mayoral candidate Anne Bannister, who is joining us today. We're looking forward to getting to know you. Anne, welcome to A2 Insight.
Thank you, James.
Well, we're very glad to have you here. We'd like to start out by learning a little bit more about you. Who is Anne Bannister? What is her background, where she grew up, and let's get you through your academic career up to your professional career. So with that being in mind, let's learn more about you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you everyone who's listening to learn more about their choice for the mayor for the next 4 years. I'm 58 years old. I've lived in Ann Arbor for 48 years. I'm a lifelong Democrat and a proud graduate of the Ann Arbor public school system and the University of Michigan. And I've had a lifelong career in personal finance, both through financial planning and personal finance education. And many people remember me as their TIAA CREF consultant, where I learned a lot of my professional skills about listening to people and helping solve their systemic problems. And so a lot of those skills have carried over to my life in public service. I got involved in local politics and public service in starting back in 2009. And at that time, Peggy Robbie, Yusuf Robbie's mother, invited me to run for treasurer. With my financial background, I was a natural fit to be treasurer at the Ann Arbor Democratic Party. So I served there. I also served as their co-chair for a few years. And so then in 2017, when people were looking for people to run for city council, I accepted the challenge and I won that race. And I served for 3 years representing not only my people in Ward 1, where I'm from over here, I live near Carytown, but also I saw a need to represent various neighborhoods around the city, because I saw a lot of firsthand, a lot of sad and frustrated faces up at City Hall, that City Hall was not listening to neighborhood concerns, or if they were listening, it was falling too often on deaf ears. So I began to use my skills of serving and representing people. And so when I found that our current mayor, my opponent, was running unopposed in 2022, again, I decided to accept the challenge because I do feel that I can bring back more citizen-led governance to City Hall, and I would really like to do that. And because we all love Ann Arbor, and we want the best for our city and a bright future, so that we can pass along the best things about Ann Arbor to future generations.
All right, well, that's a very nice overview, Anne. I guess having served on council, the question though, why do you want to be our mayor? What is the main motivation behind? I mean, you talked a little bit about working in the neighborhoods and so on, but mayor is a different role than council person. What you said, you don't want the mayor to be running unopposed, but why do you specifically want to be mayor of Ann Arbor?
Yes, well, I feel that as a former council member, I have learned a lot about how City Hall works, so that those experiences are a benefit to my fellow residents, because I've already been through training, if you will, on how our City Hall works. And I also have the skills. I'm a collaborator. I'm a problem solver. I enjoy the greatest, at my stage in life, one of the greatest accomplishments is to work with talented and creative residents to improve our lives for each other. And that is the most rewarding thing. I watched your interview with Elizabeth Nelson. I know she shares many of that enthusiasm for helping others, helping ourselves and helping others, working together. So there are things going wrong at City Hall. I feel that some of the things that we're seeing with our land use and our stewardship of our land is going in the wrong direction. And our affordability for everyone is going in the wrong direction. And citizen-led governance is being, our rights are being systemically taken away. So those are a couple, 3 issues.
Good. Well, that's a good start. I think one of the things that's interesting, having reviewed your website also, and having worked on council, having dealt with how the city government itself functions, you had an interesting comment that could you be more specific when you think that you say that you will address organizational and cultural ineffectiveness in City Hall? That's so, this is outside of the council. It's the government itself in terms of how it operates. Can you be more specific about what are the inefficiencies you see currently at City Hall?
Yes, well, I would like to direct our listeners to there were 2 MLive articles written in May of this year. And those articles talk about, though we have 800 employees at City Hall, white men continue to dominate staff and supervisory positions. And furthermore, there's been dozens of workplace discrimination complaints. So I look forward to working with our new city administrator, Milton Dehoney, to aggressively accelerate our systemic fixing of these problems with both recruitment and hiring, because it's been said in these articles that it creates a toxic environment up at City Hall because of ongoing discrimination and retaliation if a person complains. So there's a pattern of racial bias and insufficient investigation historically by the city. Furthermore, even in the last 2 years, the article states that 150 employees have been hired, but the pattern continues where 65% of those hires in the last 2 years were men and 84% were white people. And whereas in the real population of Ann Arbor, only 70% of our people are white.
Okay, so that's one of you want to address that from a more of a systemic issue there at the city council. Another thing that you also mentioned, I think it's interesting because I mean this is such a broad ranging subject, but you said specifically that our number one challenge as a city, I guess, or certainly on a larger scale, our society, is climate change. What specifically do you propose to address this?
Yes, well, I am proud that I was one of the original sponsors of our declaring a climate emergency back in 2019. I really enjoyed serving for 3 years on the Environmental Commission. That we have a lot of all-star members there working hard on climate action plans, including our Dr. Missy Stultz at our Office of Sustainability and Innovation. So, as temperatures rise and this threatens our very existence, we really need to sharpen pencils, not knives, and work together on what we're willing to do to aggressively accelerate our climate action. And so the mayor and I are somewhat different on many issues, including climate action. I am a strong advocate for practical solutions that don't necessarily price out people from living in the city. Practical solutions, many experts, I love to listen to the experts. My leadership style is not top down, that I've got the answers. I prefer a grassroots up of listening to our environmental commissioners and multiple experts within our community. And they have told me that weatherizing and energy conservation is low-hanging fruit, a big bang for our buck. Particularly large buildings are leaking energy. And so weatherizing is something that we could all do better at, both at our commercial buildings and our residential buildings. Stormwater management, we have a growing stormwater crisis where with climate change, we get greater downpours of water. So our stormwater needs to be strengthened, and that is our stormwater management. And that's also where we can ask more of new developments in our city. When we can strengthen the requirements, particularly when we're giving developers benefits and in favors to build here. It's at that moment that we're giving them benefits that we should also require that they do more for stormwater management, and also an area of disconnect between our goals and our strategies with the incumbent is that in our A20 plan, strategy 2 on page 32, we say that all new construction should be directing away from fossil fuels and be renewable energy, using renewable energy. So that is a good idea for new construction. It's a lot easier to put it in new construction than to rehab existing structures. And yet, simultaneously, City Hall and Planning Commission and my opponent are moving quickly forward with the transit corridor zoning, where we're not asking developers to comply with any of our goals, including our climate action goals.
Well, I'll get to the transit corridor in a minute, but this is a question I've really been fascinated because I've watched this for many years. And what should we do with the previous library lot? What should we, I mean, this thing has gone on. You've had a fairly interesting role, as I've seen looking at the past, but this has gone back and forth. We talked about conference centers. We talked about affordable housing building. This thing is sat here right behind the Blake Transit Center. Many ideas, many studies, many ideas. What do you want to do with that land?
Well, it is the voter in November 2018. It was on the ballot, and the voters decided that they would like to change our city charter and make that land in the center of the city a community commons in perpetuity. And so I feel strongly that a mayor needs to, whether they personally agree with the voter or not, needs to do their best to support when the voter has spoken. And I personally do believe in the center of the city. We've all been downtown, and if you've got to go to the bathroom, you need to go in and buy something expensive. And the center of the city is a very, it fulfills a lot of our equity goals, where you can be any income level and you can meet your friends there and sit there and have a rally, have a talent show, just enjoy the weather, and you don't have to pay any money to do it. I look forward to having free broadband access there. Something Dr. Ron Suarez has been working on. I support his efforts for broadband access there. We need restrooms, there, so that the public can use restrooms and trash cans. And I'm so proud of the Green Team is a group that's been working on community gardening on the center of the city, and they have been changing hearts and minds of previous detractors of the center of the city. We've been recruiting new supporters, and that's a beautiful thing. I love to see Ann Arbor getting along and making progress.
Right. Well, one of the continuing issues, and I'm going a little bit on that, is terms of affordable housing. Most of the newer construction down there costs $500,000 up to $1 million for various condominiums that pop up. We have very expensive high-rise student university housing. Some people argue, and this would how you would counter this. They said, well, we have affordable housing. It's Ypsilanti. That there are other areas that are outside of the downtown area, which people pay a premium to be down there, and they want to know, well, you may have to take a longer ride to get in here, but that market determines the whole issue of where people live. What do you say as a counter argument to that?
Well, I am very concerned about the affordability issue. And I hear out on the campaign trail and year round from residents that they're having to consider moving away. They couldn't rebuy their houses at today's prices, and certainly their family members and their children can't be buying here. So it's a serious problem. Key differences from myself and my opponent are particularly two areas I'd like to highlight briefly. The water rates. I disagreed with the incumbents' tiered water rate system, where it was revenue neutral, but it transferred the bills, $2 million of the bill off of multifamily, and in many cases luxury multifamily condos and apartments and university dormitories and commercial, transferred that bill over onto the single family home owners. And I don't feel that will in the long term stand up in court. And I feel it's that kind of fee is contrary to many of our affordability and issues. So one is the water rate issue, that tiered structure. And then the other is what's currently going on with the transit corridor zoning.
Okay. Could you be more specific about what that means for our listener watchers? What is the transit corridor and why is that so important?
Yes. Well, the incumbent has been moving quickly on a one size fits all transit corridor upzoning. Some people, Bridge Magazine, I think, coined the term unzoning of properties. So on paper, it sounds great. We're going to have affordable housing along the transit bus lines, whether that's State Eisenhower or West Stadium or Plymouth or really kind of any bus line. Mm-hmm. So it sounds great on paper, but the problem is it is being done wrong. And so for what's being done wrong about it is that this is a huge city initiated gift to the elite landowners and developers along these transit corridors. They're not even asking for it and are being given a dramatic increase in their value of their property without community benefits in the zoning. And therein lies the problem. You know, the incumbent is often saying, oh, we have to approve all the development because if we don't, we'll be sued. Well, that's a half truth, because at this moment, when we're creating and giving away a transit corridor, a TC1 zoning, this is the time when we put in that zoning our community benefits, such as affordable housing requirements. that we want to see X amount of affordable housing units. I'm not worried that the developers aren't going to build and won't make enough profits. We need to require affordable housing units if we're going. We don't need just more luxury apartments along the transit line. We need affordable. The incumbent says, well, it's going to filter down and trickle down to us. It's some law of supply and demand. I don't want to wait that long. I think Ann Arbor deserves to have it up front. We can't ask for it later. Then we do run the risk of a lawsuit. It's disingenuous to talk about lawsuits when we aren't putting affordable housing requirements in the zoning. Mixed use and retail shops, requiring that there is a place for people to not have to get in their car to shop close to their home, because that's in keeping with our climate action goals. And we've tried this before. The George on Packard Road is an example where the mixed use on the first floor didn't work, and now is being, I believe, converted into more residential.
Right.
Well, a solution to that would be to simply require not only mixed use, but that the rents are affordable to local grocery shops. Because this is, again, our existential question, of the climate action. You know, we need to be moving away from vehicular traffic, and mixed use close to residential is a key strategy.
All right. Well, that's certainly innovative. Yes, I live actually quite close to the George, and we were somewhat, when the thing popped in there, I as a resident in the Ward 4, I mean, I lost 2 Krogers. That place was converted to the George, hoping that there may be some retail or something. I wouldn't have to go all the way down to Carper. Then we lost Lucky's and all the other. So there are that some things don't work out. It would be wonderful to have closer distance. But why didn't the retail option or the multi-use concept work at the George?
The rent was too high. And so the solution again is, when we're designing our zoning changes and our giveaways, is that we put it right in the paperwork. Other cities have, Ypsilanti has a community benefits ordinance that's now from 2018, and I'm excited for them. And when they get new development, there's an agreement that has to be signed. So I want to bring back citizen-led governance and community benefits, because right now I'm very concerned that they're going away. Community benefits and citizen voices are going away fast.
Okay. Well, Ann Arbor has a history of one-party local control, and the council seems to devolve into various factions there that don't have united political goals. And again, you've certainly dealt with the various factions. It's not Democrat versus Republican in this town. It seems to be much more personality based and other issues that seem to crawl together. Why is that? Why is it so divisive on a council when we have supposedly a unified? Everyone's running under a Democratic label. The primary makes the decision. There isn't any real political opposition from Republicans in this town. Why can't that be what happens once these Democrats who run as Democrats get on council and then they divide?
Well, I'm a collaborator. And while I was on council, I got along with everyone. It's naturally, I think the vast majority of people are friendly and want to get along. I think that that it's through diversity of opinion that we reach our optimal decisions and solutions. And how this diversity of opinion got labeled factions, I think it is coming from our lack of leadership at the top. I think that the incumbent isn't looking for diversity of opinions. He's looking more for rubber stamps and groupthink, and debate is not welcome or tolerated so much. A current example, right now, the mayor's team, him and the candidates that running for council that he supports, got on endorsements by Planned Parenthood of Michigan. And folks like me and others, we were busy and we missed it this year, although I have been endorsed by Planned Parenthood before. And so I up on the incumbent's Facebook, he is touting that he has the exclusive endorsement of Planned Parenthood of Michigan. And I feel that that is divisive and misleading to the voters. I'm a lifelong Planned Parenthood supporter. I've been to their rallies. I've got pictures on my Facebook of me at the May rallies on the Diag. I've been calling Planned Parenthood and emailing them saying, please open back up your endorsement questionnaire because it's being used as a political weapon here in town. So you won't see Anne Bannister or my supporters. We're sort of the grown-ups in the room. We like to be fact-based. And I think as the next mayor, I think one of the first steps is getting people to agree on the facts of a situation.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. We're getting close to the end here. One of the things that's interesting, and having studied government and everything else, is that Ann Arbor really is kind of a more of what we consider a weak mayoral role. The power seems to be mainly with the administrator, the city manager of the city, as opposed to the elected officials. This is a model that's mainly for smaller size cities and areas. Do you envision, as a mayor, in your role in mayor, do you want to have more power taken away from the city manager, or do you see any kind of structural changes that could make our city more efficient with a mayor with a little bit more? You talked about leadership, but do you see any systemic changes that are necessary to make the mayoral role more prominent in our city?
That's an interesting question. And no, that really, I hadn't been planning on more power in the mayor's office.
Okay.
My leadership style, again, is to collaborate and listen to the people. And through that process, the good ideas rise to the top if we treat each other with respect and agree on a certain set of facts. And so, no, I'm open to what you're talking about, but I did not have any designs on that our weak mayor system that we currently have. I would like, we did pass a lot of resolutions while I was on council and since that weren't implemented. We're given the slow walk.
Right.
And the runaround, particularly with trees and natural features, is one area that we passed unanimously publicly that we were going to have greater protection for our woodlands and our ecosystem, and it was delegated to a subcommittee, and that's one of the things that as the next mayor I will strengthen our protection for our ecosystem, so that in disasters and tragedies like our Concord Pines development and others, where we're clear cutting our woodlands, are minimized in a thing of the past. I look forward to working with developers and environmentalists on doing a better job at protecting our ecosystem.
All right, Ann, well, good. Okay, well, my final question then for you is that, and again, we have had uncontested mayoral races in the past, but we don't this time. The final question would be, you are running against the incumbent, Mayor Christopher Taylor. Why should I, as a voter, vote for you instead of him?
Yes. Well, I am I asked the questions, where's the public benefit and who benefits in everything that I do? You know, I ask people to spread the word that we have a choice. I'm a grassroots campaign. I'm asking people to spread the word that we have a choice for our future. We have many complex and urgent challenges facing the city, from affordability to climate action to loss of our ecosystem. And so I'm committed and have a record of working with regular people to make sure that their voices are heard and that their good ideas are implemented. I work on inclusivity for everyone, and I look forward to setting policies and working on systemic changes that improve our quality of life for everyone, with better feedback loops and evaluation of our decisions, and making sure that when people come to City Hall, it's a welcoming, transparent, and data-driven system. And so, yes, I hope to focus on land use, citizen-led governance, and affordability, and all the things under that.
Excellent. Anne Bannister is running for mayor of Ann Arbor. And just for all of those who are watching, don't forget that the primaries are coming up on August 2nd. Ms. Bannister, I want to thank you once again for appearing on A2 Insight. And for A2 Insight, until next time, I'm James Trost.